Mr. Sinha, actually, what did you mean by saying that you're doubting whether there'll be a winter session at all, and then you said it would be very short? Are you saying that we could actually expect earlier polls, or is it just that in the nature of things you feel the session will be unproductive?
Well, you know, after the assembly election results, there is a talk in Delhi circles that there could be elections which will be maybe a couple of months earlier in February, March instead of April and May. So let's see how it shapes up. But as I said, when everyone is busy in campaigning, and which will end on the 2nd of December, the final campaign, then sadly, you know, there will be perhaps a consensus that we should not begin the parliament session in the 3rd week of November, as it generally happens, but it should be postponed to sometime in December. So that was what I had in mind when I said that it could be a shorter session.
Okay. Just hypothetically, if BJP does come to power in, you know, the upcoming elections, then what will be the key economic agenda that you all wish to implement, say, in the first 2 years of being in power? What could the market expect?
We are working on our manifesto, where we'll delineate the steps that we'll take if we were to win power back in 2014, and we'll give timelines. We'll say we'll do this in 90 days, we'll do this on 180 days, and like that. But the priorities are quite well known and quite obvious. You don't really have to wait for the election manifesto of the BJP to say that the first thing that we'll put an end to is this paralysis in decision making. The first thing which will have to be done is to energize the government, stir up the bureaucracy, and move forward so that decisions are taken. If 15 lakh rupees worth of projects are held up in the pipeline somewhere or the other, the priority will be to get these projects going as soon as possible. And wherever policy paralysis has held up decisions which are vital for the forward movement of the economy, then those decisions will have to be expedited. So there are any number of issues which are less of ideology, which are even less of policy, which are more administrative in nature, will have to be attended to. And then, as I said, we'll set course and try and achieve within 5 years what we'll promise in our election manifesto, which will be the right kind of policy for a country like India, which will not ignore any sector, which will not ignore any section of the population. Most certainly it will not ignore agriculture and the rural areas, and equally promote industry, including foreign investment, so that we are able to move forward all along.
Mr. Sinha, I've just one more question on FDI and then other major issues that you will inevitably be confronted with. You know, some decisions have been taken by this government and somebody's put in money on the basis of that. For instance, Walmart. There is the public, in the public space, we know your opposition to foreign direct investment in multi-brand retail. But will you turn back a decision taken? You know, will you push back people who have already entered?
Nobody has entered on the basis of the new policy. Walmart came on the basis of cash and carry, which was permitted from before, and when we were in office between 98 and 2004, we did not interfere with this, as you are aware. Now, Walmart has expressed its reservations with regard to the new norms. We have very clearly said we are opposed to FDI in retail, and let there be no doubt about that. But what I am saying is the government policy which the UPA government has announced is so messy, it's so botched up, that nobody, no foreign investor has entered the retail sector so far, and it's very unlikely that they will enter the retail sector until after the elections are over and a new government is in place. So there is no question of reversing what this government has done. If there is a question, perhaps it's a question of improving on what they have done, but we'll take a view with regard to that as and when it becomes necessary.
But you would not push back someone who has already put in money in any
there
sphere.
is no investment. The point I am making.
No, not in multi-brand. I take your point. I take your point on that. But
Yes.
you know, the signal that it might send would be so negative, and we already see the mess in telecom. We know in the past in Coca-Cola and IBM what happened. So basically, will there be a pushback of decisions taken?
That was, you know, let's not go back into such hoary past.
Okay.
And then recall to mind what Mrs. Gandhi did, you know, even before what Mr. George Fernandez did.
Okay.
So let's not go into that. The point I'm making is, very rarely have decisions taken by a previous government been reversed by the next government.
Okay.
But I'll give you another example. And this is the example of the area of nuclear power, where this government, according to us, is violating the law of the land in signing even MOUs with American companies which are clearly against the stipulations of the law and the rules of the Nuclear Liability Act. Now, that is something which will have to be looked into, you know. So there are areas where we have doubts, retail being one, nuclear power being another. But by and large, as I said, there is frankly no reservation as far as we are concerned with regard to the role FDI should play in the development of India.
Mr. Sinha, you made a point that the first priority of the BJP government will be, you know, on administrative steps to try and ease out all the policy paralysis. Coal shortage has been a big problem for the Indian economy. It's affecting various sectors. Very recently, the UPA government approved the first ever, you know, coal auction policy for private firms. You know, when we read the papers, we understand that the BJP is opposed to coal auctions. So how exactly, you know, is the, you know, according to you, would y'all, you know, address the issue of coal shortage?
You know, like the telecom sector, coal sector has also been ruined for all practical purposes by the policy flip-flops of this government. And both sectors have been affected by massive corruption. Now, the way forward in the coal sector is to face the challenges up front. Don't do anything under the table, in an underhand manner. If you want to have the private sector play a role in coal mining, then why don't you be upfront and re-enact the legislation or enact the legislation which has been pending with Parliament for a long time, and you know, set new guidelines for the entry of private sector in coal mining. You know, this facade that we have created of coal mines being allotted to certain people who are operating in certain sectors has led to predictable results, both in terms of irregularities and corruption. So that is not the route to take. I am generally in favor of natural resources, with some honorable exceptions like water, being auctioned. That is the route that we should take, so that there is absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind about how the government is proceeding. You know, there should be the least element of discretion in these decision-making processes, and that will lead to transparency.